So welcome. It's not something that you see very often. So the gastroscopy EZ1500, a patient who is relatively elderly, had a gastroscopy for reflux type symptoms and has got a Barrett esophagus. And you can see that here clearly. We just keep coming back. The anatomy is not very clear here, so probably if we just come back again, here you have probably got top of the gastric folds. And then when you come back more, you see a little bit of distortion of the lumen. Right? So the lumen is distorted here, and you may be forgiven for thinking that that is also part of his Barrett's esophagus, but it isn't. And let's show you why. So the person who detected this took a biopsy of this nodular zone here at the top. So if we come back here at the 3 o'clock and coming back, this zone was biopsied as squamous dysplasia. And so actually you don't commonly see this. More commonly it's a little higher up. It's not usually associated with Barrett's esophagus, squamous dysplasia, and it's very hard to see in white light. So if we just come back a little bit more, we can start to see, if we look here maybe, and we look at the difference between what is quite clearly intestinal metaplasia on the left side, Barrett's mucosa, and then something very different and a little bit more disordered. So if you progress from the middle of the image to the 3 o'clock on the image, you can see that change. And then let's just investigate that a little further. So we can do underwater in a minute, but right now we're using a cap. And you can very clearly see that border. And actually this lesion is kind of on the Barrett's mucosa, because you have Barrett's mucosa that is sitting in the middle of this lesion. Now what is the difference? Well, here you have a completely irregular structure, the open glandular pattern of Barrett's mucosa. And in here, there is a much more disordered pattern creeping in. You have some quite dilated intrapapillary capillary loops, particularly near the 3 o'clock there in that image. And as you come back, you can again see some which are bridging two of the palisades here, especially now in the center of the image if I freeze it here. So this is for sure squamous dysplasia. And then the next question is, where does the dysplasia extend to? So we will show you Lugol in a minute, but first we want to show you with virtual chromoendoscopy. So it is not so easy to see the borders of this. You have actually got, for comparison, just here in the center of the image now, some normal intrapapillary capillary loops. And then if you compare them to the ones that you see down here, on the right hand side, you have some bridging different palisades, and you have some which look inflamed and some which are a bit irregular. So that's clear. But then as we come up here, you need to be careful, because that's a piece of Barrett's mucosa, I think, in the center. So if we freeze the image, you've got in the center a piece of Barrett's mucosa, underneath a squamous dysplastic area, and then here, certainly this is also not normal. So there's an whole flat area associated with this lesion. Now, if I freeze again, I'm not talking about in the 6, but I'm talking about towards the 2 o'clock area, which is definitely also abnormal. And so you must also remove that alongside this lesion. And some inflammation probably in the IPCLs around the lesion, but the lesion probably ends here. And if you want to stick with so that's the highlights of this video. That's something interesting that you may otherwise not see. Here's probably the other edge, just for completeness of it, sitting on the Barrett's mucosa and just under here. And if you're never sure, because right now there's some fluid on it, we can just use water, thanks to the person who helped me with the water jet. And almost certainly that is the edge of the lesion there, with the abnormal IPCL pattern on the right at the 3 o'clock and at the 9 o'clock. Normal. Again, you can see that we can get quite... we gently suction. You have to have your water jet quite low, so we can try to get, with the seal of the cap, some better underwater imaging of this. But I'm not sure that it's entirely necessary here, because we already have great optics and the position, and meaning I don't have to fill the esophagus completely with water. I won't do that.